gatherings in the garden. This is where these cattle keepers can be allowed to come. And then they should have to be informed so that they can go far away from where the farmers is. This is a certain agreement, and you cannot do it by force. And this one needs policy and a certain agreement between the farmers and cattle keepers. It doesn't need politics from the politician. It doesn't need politics from the other group that need hate speech and whatever. This is a very simple thing that the chief, those who are in charge of cattle keepers can sit and they make agreement. Brothers and sisters, you are keeping cattle for milk and for meat. For us, we are now growing dura, okra for food. So if you know all these things are for our consumption, why not for us to make this in a friendly manner?
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, it's 1 o'clock, time for iRadio News. First, here are the headlines making our top stories. Coming up, Ezra Construction and Development Group, the main electricity provider in Juba, has rejected implementing the recent presidential order to cut electricity tariffs and other charges. The chairperson of the National Election Commission says the body has not received funding for pre-election activities despite a presidential directive to the Ministry of Finance to release the money. And the trial of 13 young men accused of sexually assaulting a teenager girl in Gumbo Shirkad in June has been adjourned to Saturday after the mobile court held its first session inside Juba Central Prison yesterday. These are stories and more coming to you in our news bulletin with me, Wol Mapal, and now the news in detail. Ezra Construction and Development Group, the main electricity provider in Juba, has rejected implementing the recent presidential order to cut electricity tariffs and other charges. In a memo seen by iRadio dated October 1st, 2025 and addressed to Juba Electricity Distribution Company, Managing Director Wundimo Tenkir, Ezra constructed JETCO to hold off on implementing the directives issued by the Ministry of Energy and dams related to the Republican order. The order, issued by President Salva Kiir last week, reduced electricity tariffs for homes, businesses and government institutions. It also removed a compulsory $3 monthly service fee for all electricity users in Juba, cut the connection fee from $320 to $128 and lowered the low voltage extension fee from nearly $1,000 to $399. However, Ezra said JETCO should continue operations according to existing contracts and called for discussions with the Ministry of Energy and the South Sudan Electricity Corporation. The group cited uncertainty over the order and concerns about protecting the investment while considering government finances. The chairperson of the National Election Commission says the body has not received funding for pre-election activities despite a presidential directive to the Ministry of Finance to release the money. The announcement comes as the Commission steps up preparations for the general election scheduled for December 2026. Speaking in an exclusive interview with iRadio this morning, Commission Chairperson Professor Abenego Akok said the Ministry of Finance and Planning has yet to release the funds despite President Salva Kiir's directive in June. Akok said the money is needed to carry out activities such as civic education and the full establishment of offices across the country. He disclosed that the Commission has so far opened offices in only 6 states and plans to complete the remaining ones by the end of this year.
Is the level of resources to run the election, pre-election activities. This is very important because there are certain duties which would be done before we could go for voting or for registration or voting. It is very unfortunate the directives put forward by the president were not fulfilled by the Minister of Finance until now. So they should do something, but what I know is the local government officers before, any orders from the leadership of the nation should be fulfilled as they are, but I don't know what's happening.
South Sudan has not conducted a general election since independence in 2011. The first polls were scheduled for 2015 July, but were postponed following the outbreak of civil war. Since then, Parliament has extended the presidential term several times, citing insecurity. Elsewhere, the trial of 13 young men accused of sexually assaulting a teenage girl in Gumbo Sherkad in June has been adjourned to Saturday after the mobile court held its first session inside Juba Central Prison yesterday. The accused appeared before the court for the first time in a session where investigators presented their findings, according to Advocate Godfrey Victor Bullen, who is representing the survivor. The suspects face 4 charges, including joint criminal acts, criminal intimidation by anonymous communication, unlawful detention for sexual assault and robbery. They are accused of carrying out the assault that was filmed and widely shared on social media in June. The disturbing footage sparked public outrage and condemnation from civil society, women's groups and human rights defenders. Advocate Bullen said Wednesday's sitting included opening statements by both the prosecution and the defense, as well as the presentation of reports and exhibits by investigators. He added that the judge adjourned the session to Saturday morning for the cross-examination of the report presented by the chief investigator. Bullen explained in the following interview.
The first session was good. We opened up the prosecution case. The prosecution and the public rights open up opening statement, prosecution opening statement, and then the defense replied. The defense were represented by 2 advocates also, and the court had the investigator. The investigator produced prosecution produced his investigation report and presented also the exhibits before the court, and the session has been adjourned for Saturday to continue. We shall continue on Saturday morning with the prosecution case, where there will be examination in chief of the investigator. Then it will follow with the cross-examination by the defense counsel.
South Sudan's ambassador to Kenya says the government is planning to open a consulate in Mombasa to boost trade and provide stronger support to South Sudanese stakeholders in the region. Ambassador Anthony Kon made the remark after meeting Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir during his visit to the coastal city yesterday. Konus also serves as South Sudan's permanent representative to UN Habitat, and UNEP said the visit aimed to strengthen cooperation and reaffirm Mombasa's central role as South Sudan's economic gateway. Describing his visit as both symbolic and practical, Konus stressed the importance of Mombasa to South Sudan's trade. He said in the statement, and I quote, "Mombasa is a gateway to South Sudanese imports and exports and connects South Sudan with the region and the rest of the world. Mombasa is not only Kenya's port but also South Sudan's port. South Sudan is not moving anywhere from Kenya. It will continue to use Mombasa as its main port. My visit is to strengthen that link and reinforce South Sudan's presence here." End quote. During the discussions, Ambassador Kon outlined his program in Mombasa, which includes meeting with cargo handling companies, tours of their facilities, and direct engagement with the stakeholders to address challenges affecting goods bound for South Sudan. He also pointed to broader engagements with Kenya's Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, the Ministry of Trade, and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, saying South Sudan's opportunities extend beyond oil to minerals and other untapped sectors. Kon further pledged to convene a joint business forum to bring South Sudanese and Kenyan investors together to exchange ideas and explore partnerships. He urged Kenyan investors to look beyond Juba, Wau, and Bor and consider wider regions of South Sudan that hold huge potential for growth. And the judiciary of South Sudan has established a permanent court system in Ruang administrative area, marking the first time the region has a judicial institution. The court launched yesterday consists of 2 levels, the county court and the high court, and will be supported by a newly deployed team of judges. Speaking at the inauguration, Aluong Riak Aja, legal advisor of Ruang administrative area, urged citizens to use the new judicial services.
Comprised of 2, county court and high court. And we are very happy today that we launch our court in Ruang administrative area. So today we are happy and we are going to start our process. And we urge all the citizens in Ruang administrative area that from today onward we have a permanent court in Ruang administrative area.
James Ang Minyel, Deputy Chief Administrator of Ruweng Administrative Area, also welcomed the development, saying this is the first time resident judges have been assigned to the area since the administration was created. He said that in the past, only mobile courts were available, but now citizens have access to permanent judicial services.
Very officially for mean tasis bita ruling ano kuna mindena gavi yalena viji mobile court ruling court ruling fasa yom lela da nugula kum ruling da nugula sha bita ruling kullu ayi zol muzulum ayi zol indu mushkila lela da yom bita ruling biga piu ganunin jo ibe na ayi zol indu mushkila eji amam gediye ay tekir ruling biga mindu مشكلة لأنه أي زول عنده مشكلة ما يعمل مشاكل يجي في مال بتاع قانون ونازل في أمام بتاع قانون.
According to the officials, establishment of the court will improve access to justice, resolving local disputes and strengthening peace and accountability in Ruweng. And finally, before the regional and international stories, Catholic charity Caritas South Sudan, in partnership with the Catholic Diocese of Malakal, has distributed relief items to 400 households affected by floods in Fangak County, Jonglei State. The intervention followed an appeal by the Commissioner of Fangak, who had called for urgent support, citing acute shortages of food, shelter, and medical services. Speaking to our radio, Omujwak Obach, the new emergency coordinator of Caritas in Malakal Diocese, said the items included sorghum, lentils, cooking oil, salt, plastic sheets, and water containers. He said each household received a 50-kilogram sack of sorghum, lentils, cooking oil, salt, and a plastic sheet and a jerrycan.
August 11th, we conducted an assessment and we saw the situations of our population here in Fum. The situation was so bad. Then we decided to intervene with food relief. So in this program, we have targeted 400 households in Fum. And each beneficiary is receiving 50 kgs of sorghum and 25 kgs of lentils and 5 liters of cooking oil and 1 kg of salt and 1 plastic sheet and 1 jerrycan. So currently we are now at a distribution center and the majority of the people have received items.
Omojok described this humanitarian situation as dire, saying floodwaters have surrounded villages, forcing people to move by canoe while lacking access to clean water and health care. He appealed for urgent intervention for both government and other humanitarian agencies, warning that the most vulnerable, particularly the elderly, women and children, are bearing the greatest hardship. You are listening to iRadio News. Now to the regional international stories brought to you by Prestige Millers Company Limited. Here is my colleague Madrama James.
Thanks. Let's have a look at some of the stories making headlines in the region and beyond. 2 Kenyan human rights activists have gone missing in Uganda. They were reportedly abducted by armed men while attending an opposition rally for Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine condemned the incident, saying the men Bob Ngaji and Nicholas Oyo were taken in mafia style at a petrol station to an unknown location. Kenyan police said they are not aware of the case, while Ugandan authorities have not yet commented. Bobi Wine, whose real name is Robert Chagulanyi, is challenging President Yoweri Museveni in next year's election. Elsewhere, a Nigerian man deported from the United States to Ghana says he is now stranded in Togo. He told the BBC he and 5 others were secretly transferred there by Ghanaian officers. After being promised they would be moved from a military camp to a better accommodation, the U.S. deported him along with other West Africans under its immigration crackdown. Ghana's foreign minister earlier said his country had accepted the deportees out of Pan-African empathy. And finally, dozens of activists, including Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg, have been detained by Israeli forces. Their aid to Gaza was intercepted in international waters about 70 miles from the coast. Israel said the boat were entering a combat zone and breaking a naval blockade. The activists are being taken to an Israeli port for deportation. These are some of the stories making headlines in the region and beyond.
And vote of thanks to Madrama James for the regional international stories. And here brings us to the end of our headlines now. But first, here are the top stories once again. Azer Construction and Development Group, the main electricity provider in Juba, has rejected implementing the recent presidential order to cut electricity tariffs and other charges. The chairperson of the National Election Commission says the body has not received funding for pre-election activities, despite a presidential directive to the Minister of Finance to release the money. And finally, the trial of 13 young men accused of sexually assaulting a teenage girl in Juba, Shirkat, in June, has been adjourned to Saturday after the mobile court held its first session inside Juba Central Prison yesterday. That is the end of iRadio News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Like our Facebook page at iRadio. Follow us also on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page at iRadio. But currently, as our Facebook page has got issues, you can also follow us on iRadio Sports for now. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at 1/2 past the hour. I am Wol Mapal. Thanks for listening.